Cashflow Diary Podcast, Episode 7.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cashflow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are here at Episode 7. Today, we're going to talk about how to choose where to get started. And some of you may be asking yourself, get started in what? Well, it could be real estate. It could be business. It doesn't really matter. If you haven't already, definitely go over to the website, cashflowdiary.com. Go ahead and sign up for the free, hear the word free in that, ebook that's just going to teach one specific piece out of there, and that's called wholesaling. It's how I started in real estate, simply being able to buy and sell property or control real estate using none of your own money or credit, and being able to earn money in the process. So if you still want to take advantage of that, make sure that you get over to the website, cashflowdiary.com, and you should also download the first episode so that you can understand a little bit more about background, who we are, what we're doing, format of the show, etc. And again, getting the ebook is just simple. Just go over to the website, give us your email, and you'll be able to get the ebook immediately. Awesome. For those of you who have heard me many, many times, welcome back. And for those of you, this is our first meeting. Excellent. Glad to have you here. And again, we're going to talk today about how to choose where to get started. That could be real estate. That could be business. I mean, some of you out there, you've got aspiring dreams. I know I still got many, many things to accomplish. And oftentimes when we start thinking about our dreams and goals and what it is that we want to do, we can get, shall we say, overwhelmed. Yeah, overwhelmed in the process and the ideas and everything else that we actually want to accomplish. So one of the things I wanted to start out this particular episode with is, as usual, a quote. Here is the quote. The goal of business then should not be to simply sell to anyone who wants what you have, but rather to find people who believe what you believe. The person who said that is Simon Sinek. He's an author. Some of you may have already heard of him, but he's known for popularizing the concept of the golden circle. If you don't know what that is, you need to go get his book. It is Start With Why. It's a great book, and it's going to be the beginning of our topic today. But understand, did you hear the quote, though? The goal of business then should not simply be to sell anyone who wants what you have, but rather to find people who believe what you believe. One of the great things about being a business owner, about being a real estate entrepreneur, one of the great things about it is that you get to solve people's problems, and that feels good. And you can also, along the way, collect individuals and teams and customers and clients who believe what you believe. And when they believe what you believe, it becomes its own entity. It begins to be something that's bigger than you, so that you have the ability to influence and help many, many other people. I definitely agree with what Mr. Sinek has written there. And I want to make sure that you understand that that's a key point. Just being able to take money or receive money in compensation for your product or service, it's not enough. It's so much more than that. And you're looking for the customers and the teammates and the employees who believe what you believe, or your contractors, whatever. However it is that you execute your business, the people that you execute it with need to believe what you believe, period. So we're going to talk about how to choose to get started. But before we do today, I didn't know if you actually noticed there was an article on Fox Business, and I thought it was very interesting. The title was 8 Money Moves to Make the Year Before You Retire. I find this interesting. It's 8 money moves to make the year before you retire. So the title alone, it says to me, is like, why would I wait until the year before I retire? But I find it very, very interesting that, the articles like this are beginning to exist. I like some of the things in the article because it begins to be more truthful than a lot of the media articles that we're used to these days. But I find it they come up with 8 different things. The first one being the countdown to retirement plan is like it's a life transition. Okay, that's true. That makes sense. I understand. Decide when to take Social Security. I mean, that's like item number 2. It's like when to take Social Security. I'm like that assumes it's going to be there, and for most of us, whether certain agencies want to admit it or not, there's significant doubt as to whether it will be there or worthwhile. And then number 3 was like planned Medicare supplements. I'm like, okay, so that's not going in the direct direction. And let's really think about it. If you're planning on Social Security or Medicare, what does it really mean you're planning on for your particular lifestyle? Just ask yourself if that's what you're looking for. If that's what you're looking for, then I guess this article is definitely making some sense. Create a post-retirement budget. This was one of the sections that I was like, wow, they actually began to report some things that are truthful. And having been a financial planner, this whole article, was very interesting. But I love that first sentence. It says many people believe their post-retirement expenses will be significantly lower than their pre-retirement expenses, but that isn't usually the case. I definitely understand and like that, having seen that a number of times. Hopefully, that you here are listening and participate with us at the Cashflow Diary because you're trying to prepare for these things before they hit you. Number 5, pay down all debt if possible. Okay, I agree. There's a significant number and types of debt that should be eliminated by this point. And one of the things I will say is that when it comes to controlling real estate, you definitely want to use as much leverage as you possibly can. That's the point of leverage, is to help you effect control with very limited, or if any, of your own, monetary resources. So you could use leverage appropriately in that way. However, my opinion, you're not retired specifically in real estate until your properties are free and clear. That's the goal, is to get not to buy them free and clear. You don't have to buy them and they be free and clear when you get them. But when you call yourself retired, I would strongly suggest that in a lot of cases, simply because of, and again, it's going to depend on the type of real estate that you're doing. Right now I'm in the middle of working through one of my triple net leases on a shopping center, and those are a completely different situation than working through an apartment building, which is also different than working through a single family house. But in general, by the time I consider, someone retired, or I feel like I'm done, quote unquote, with that particular building, is that I want to have the debt in a situation to where it is free and clear, as well as occupied and stable. So that's definitely one of just the things that I like to shoot for. Doesn't mean you have to, but I think it's wise and sound advice. And then it says number 6 was dial back investment risk in retirement plans. One of the things that I don't like about the way this part is said is that it simply says that the higher interest rate, or it starts to focus on the dollar value of what's in the retirement account. And if you saw the video that I did, it's probably available on YouTube. So you can definitely check that out there on our YouTube channel. Just go to cashflowdiary.com and click under the media section. You'll be able to get all to the videos. But there's a video that I did about piles of cash versus streams of cash. And then they later correct themselves in the article. But number 6 can't even begin to agree with the amount that's in there isn't as important as the stream of cash that it produces. You'll see that later. Update legal documents and policies. Absolutely. Always. But number 8, it says, and I like this, that finally it says, design your retirement portfolio for income. Yes, that's correct. Now, here's the question I want to ask you. Why would you wait to the year before you retire to start this? And more importantly, why aren't we taught how to do number 8 first? How do you design your retirement portfolio for income from the beginning? How do you put together a comprehensive plan to make that step and those jumps? That's a completely different skill set of learning to live off the eggs as opposed to the golden goose. And you want to make sure that you're able to do that and start early. That's one of the benefits of real estate, is that you can, as soon as you're legally able to sign a contract, you can begin that process with or without a degree, etc. and you have the ability to begin to understand and run business and solve problems. So it becomes very, very good. I know that was probably a little bit longer than you were hoping for in that particular article, but it says so many things about the way we think about retirement and putting quote unquote people out to pasture. That's not what we're doing. I don't know that I'll ever quote unquote retire. I tried that idea a couple summers back, and I just got bored. I'm like, I feel like I need something to do, something to keep moving and motivated, something, a place to make a difference. Those are the things that I like. So, our topic today, as I said, is how to choose where to get started. One of the things that I truly believe to my core is that when we're getting started with business, we're getting started oftentimes because we have a need, or we see a shortcoming in our budgets, or we're looking for a way to fill a gap. Or the famous saying is, you make months, or what is it? You're trying to get from paycheck to paycheck, and you're trying to make the ends of months meet. Um, all of those things are true. All of those things are very, very true. So what I'm trying to say, though, to you is, you want to make sure that the reason that you're starting with your business, or with your real estate, or with whatever it is that you're looking to do, is a little different. That reason has more to do with, who you are, and it because doing business is not for the faint of heart. Real estate is definitely not for the faint of heart, simply because it involves people. And business. I've heard it said that business would be easy if there were no people involved. That's true, but it's not. And the people are the ones that have challenges, and people are the ones that become your customers and your friends, and who you get to serve, and your tenants, etc. And you want to be clear, as Simon Sinek would wholeheartedly say, you want to start with, why on earth are you doing this? These can become your points of significance, if you will, is why you're doing this. It can't be just so that I can get more money. That it has to be more than just that. It has to be something that's deeper, something that's closer to you, something that gets you up in the morning and keeps you going no matter what, something that you begin to believe in. And more importantly, the world and your friends around you need individuals that can inspire them to go out there and do something that they've never done before. And that could be you. That could be your very purpose. If you are willing to examine, why on earth is this so important to you? And when you're asking yourself, this question of, why is it important to me? And to get beyond, say, just the superficial, you want to ask questions of yourself like, what happens if I don't do this? Like, maybe you're examining or looking at a potential business opportunity. Ask yourself, what happens if I don't do this? What happens if I continue to sit behind a cubicle year after year and make no changes? What happens? What does that mean? What does my life look like? What happens if I continue to allow and subscribe to that it's okay for people to tell me when to go to lunch, when I can go on vacation, even what time to go to work? All of those things. What happens? What quality of life does that give me? And I'm not down on those things. I'm just saying, if your answers aren't satisfactory, or the lifestyle that you envision or that you want, this becomes the basis of that why. Eventually you can get to the point of, who would I influence, if I had the ability to. One of the questions I love to ask myself, and I've been asking myself this year this question a lot, is if if I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything I touched would succeed, what would I do? Notice I didn't say, what would I attempt, what would I try, what would I think about, what would I actually go out there and do? And when you ask yourself that question, you begin to find that you would do different things. And sometimes, for some of us, I know it's true for me, that a lot of what I was doing isn't what I wanted to be doing. And so things had to change. We have to get in touch with the why, because as you get in touch in the why, everything else becomes irrelevant. I know that you're thinking about, well, how do I do this and how do I do that? And then obviously that's the whole point of being able to create the podcast and the videos and everything else that we do, between the ebooks, the courses, live events, etc., so that you have access to some of those hows and introduce you to some of the right people. The point, though, is you must come up with the why. That's got to be you. It's all you. And you're the only one who can motivate you, because no one can motivate you like you can motivate you, but you've got to be willing to ask you some difficult questions. So another question that you might want to ask in this process is just simply, what would happen to my family if I did not do this or whatever the this is? What would happen if I didn't actually make the switch from single family houses to multifamily houses? What would happen if I didn't actually try to buy another property after Fannie and Freddie Mae couldn't give me any more loans? What would happen if I didn't learn new skill sets? What would happen? What would our lifestyle look like? What would they think of me? Could I look my kids in the eye and say, "Hey, go do anything you want," even though I haven't tried? I mean, these are all things that I ask myself, and I submit these questions over to you so that you can ask yourself, so that you can get in touch with why you might do something. So here's the fun part. How to choose where to get started isn't so much a matrix of technical data points with percentages and this, that, and the other. It has so much more to do with you. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all five of the questions. There are just five questions that you need to answer. And the first one, as I said, is the why. Once you answer the why question, that's the beginning. That is by far the most important. And it's the one, unfortunately, most people skip. The next is the what. What on earth are you going to do? You say that you want to do real estate. Great. So what's type of real estate? Is that going to be single family houses? Okay, cool. If it's single family houses, is that going to be inner city single family houses or suburbs? Is that going to be what I call Walmart, Target, or Nordstrom property? And for those of you familiar with those stores, that is in the United States, we have a store called Walmart, and I'm sure most people know what that one is. We also have a middle of the range department store called Target, and then the higher end being Nordstrom. And real estate gets divided in many different ways, right? Some of you know where those neighborhoods are that you're afraid to go into, and some of you could be afraid of going into the Nordstrom style neighborhood simply because they have gates and guards, and you just feel uncomfortable. The point is what are you going to do? What customer do you wish to serve? And that's the key point. And one of the things that I found myself doing when I first started in real estate is I was chasing the dollar. I needed to eat. If you've listened to episode 1, you understand why that was the case. And I was willing to do whatever it took. And I took whatever deal would possibly come my way. And I had no focus, no direction. I was not clear, no clarity, no power, could not decide or act properly, because I didn't know who I was or what my identity was as an investor. What is my investor identity? Seriously, had no clue. And because of that, every deal looks good, anything looks possible, and you try it all. And we end up chasing the dollar as opposed to doing something that we think we would enjoy. Now, let me ask you this. The last time you chased a dollar and did whatever it took, whether you enjoyed it or not, didn't you call that your job? For most people, the answer to that is, yeah, I did call that my job. So see, you've already got one of those. This time, let's design it differently. There's a concept that Timothy Ferriss teaches called lifestyle design. So let's apply that to this. Let's go out there and say, hey, you know what? This is what I want my life to look like. And let me go out there and do the work necessary to build and build everything around that very thing. What am I going to do? Awesome. So what we're going to do right now is going to take a quick break from the main topic, let you digest that information, and want to review the cash flow questions. Hopefully you got the last one. The last one was simply, what do the letters IRR mean in investing? IRR. They stand for something. And again, the whole point of these questions is to increase your financial intelligence so that you can go out there to be able to earn more money, to be able to create more value, receive more capital, raise capital, do the things that you want to do. One of the words that you must begin to understand is IRR, and that is internal rate of return. Internal rate of return. For those of you who went out there, looked it up, Wikipedia, Investopedia, whatever you did, congratulations. Now you're a little bit smarter. This is great. Let's talk about the next question. What is the process? And here it is. What is the process called of questioning every part of your reasoning and examining all seemingly relevant data before you require an asset? There's a process that you should go through before you purchase any asset. And I'm asking you, what is that process called? During that process, you should be questioning every part of your reasoning for purchasing it. You should be examining every piece of data that seems relevant, and I want to know what the title of that process is, before you require the asset. So, okay, that chew on that one. Hopefully you wrote it down, or you can rewind and listen to it as many times as you like, but it's a very important process, and how you do this process has so much to do with your success. It's not funny. Okay, let's go to the third question. Back to our main topic. So we've got why, we've got what. Immediately after what, and usually within the same moment, what I want you to do is to put down when. So you've got why, what, when. You know why you're doing it, you know what you're doing. The next thing you need to put down is when. I was taught a long time ago that things in life have a tendency not to happen unless we make them happen. Period. Things in life have a tendency not to happen unless we make them happen. And a simple definition for integrity is doing what you say you're going to do. That's it. Because Jim Rohn used to say that things are easy to do, but that also means they're easy not to do. And that's a challenge for us as humans, because we are human. So what does that mean? That means, you must have some sort of calendaring device at your immediate disposal, so that you have the ability to write them down. What is your process or system for being able to make sure that you follow through on the things that you say that you're going to do? And this is one of those things that I am naturally weak at. So when you're weak at something, you must find a way to plug that hole. Just because you're weak at something doesn't mean you can't do it. It means you may have to leverage to make up for your own weaknesses. So one of the things that I do is that I have in place a person who tends to handles my schedules, handles a lot of the marketing, the PR, and those types of contacts, because I can't do all of that on my own. I need help. I need help from other people who know how to do it, who can do it, and who would be there to do it all the time when it needs to be done. And you know what? Each of us need that. Each of us needs some person who can help us to fulfill those weaknesses. Because as I said, if you don't write down when you're going to do something, it probably won't. So what does that mean? We've all said, okay, I'm going to start on Monday. I'll start on Tuesday, or I'll start next week. Okay, sure. If you're going to start on Tuesday, you're going to start on Monday, you're going to start next week, write it down in your calendar. And how long are you going to do it? Start blocking off the time to actually do the research that you say that you need to do before you get started. And you may find yourself that it doesn't take anywhere near as long as you think it does to simply get started. But once it's written down, now that it's written down, you've got to follow through and get it done. I'm by no means perfect, but it's definitely something that I know that has helped me a lot. So we've got the why, the what, and the when. Then it's the who. Who. So who's going to do it? And at the beginning, the who is you, and that's just the way it is. The who is you. So what you want to do is you want to understand that that's at the beginning, but that doesn't mean you still aren't running in many different departments. You still have a sales department and a marketing department and a PR department, and you're the chief cook and bottle washer, as they say, right? That's good. What I want you to be aware of, though, is that at some point, depending on the size of your dream, you may be building an organization. You should build with the end in mind, and have an organizational structure in your head and written down that will allow you to eventually delegate certain tasks. So with that, one of the first things that I'm always going to ask and recommend and say is that the first who you need on your team by far is that accounting person, that CFO, that bookkeeper, whatever you want to call them. You want to go find them immediately. Simply because I know I waited way too long to do that. I was well over 90 transactions in buying and selling real estate for a number of years before I actually attempted to even tackle the whole thing. And it took hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it all straightened out between the IRS and accounting fees, blah, blah, blah. It's straightened out now, but I would love to have that money back. And unfortunately, it is what it is. You live, you learn, and I paid for that lesson, which is why I'm saying to you, that's probably the first person most of you need. Even if you don't need them full time right now, go have an appointment, go talk to them, tell them what you want to do so that they can help you, begin to set things up properly from the beginning so that every time you're spending every dollar, you're in that position to make that happen. And while you're thinking about the who, you must also think about how will you keep that person accountable. One of the things that we like to do internally is we'll have calls on Mondays and on Fridays. Mondays tell me what you are going to do this week. Fridays tell me what you did. Tell me what you did. And that way we have that internally, making sure that everyone, and it's a group call. It's not a one-on-one because that would take too long. So you've got everybody all together saying, this is what I'm going to do. This is what these are the priorities I believe that exist for the week. Gives me the chance to change them. And then on the other end, they say, this is what we did. This is what we accomplished. This is how it went. And it's a simple process, and it's been very, very effective at making sure that everybody stays on task. They know what's expected of them, and that's the cool thing. Now, here's the thing. The question is how do you keep yourself accountable when you're the chief cook and bottle washer? That's why writing the things down in your calendar becomes important, because it'll be easy to go back and see, did I keep the appointments? Did I make the phone calls? Did I do the work that is necessary? How many offers did I write? How many times did I sit down with people at my favorite coffee shop and actually talk to them about real estate and getting started? What did I do? What didn't I do? And you can begin to make sure that you are not just talking about what you think you want to do, but you're actually doing the activities themselves. Then so we've got the 4 questions. It's why, what, when, who, then how. How is it going to be done? And when I say how, I don't mean like high level strategy. I mean the technical, how is it going to be done? The technique that's actually going to be employed to achieve the result that you're after. So anyway, this is typically where most people try to start, is that they start by typing into Google things like, how do I earn more money? How do I buy real estate? That's where most of us are looking for, is we're looking for that strategy, but we haven't asked ourselves the previous questions. And then you can find a strategy to execute, and you can find, and here's the challenge, especially with real estate, is that there's 15 ways to get to the same destination. So we get confused, and should I be doing lease options, and what about short sales? And then I heard this foreclosure thing, and then there's these notes, and man, what about single family houses? And then what about apartment buildings? And because we have limited resources, we spend a whole lot of time researching all of the strategies. And then we spend, again, because we have limited resources, we spend very significant amounts of time going, well, which one of these is the best and which one should I start with? And what I'm saying to you is start with the one that feels right first, because right now you have no frame of reference. You don't have that feedback loop. That's what I call it. It's the feedback loop. Until you have a feedback loop, you don't know what corrections or things you need to make. You didn't know you didn't like your job until you started doing it. Remember, if you had thought you weren't going to like it, you wouldn't have interviewed or applied for it at the beginning. You did your best that you could to figure out, okay, this one sounds good, that looks good, right? And you did the best you could at the beginning on that. And then over time, some of us found out that that wasn't so much fun. So what I'm saying here is you want to spend some time thinking about the how things are going to be done. Yes, you need this higher level strategies, but we need to talk about the actual techniques. Who's going to help you? Not who's going to help you, but how are you going to have those techniques executed in the marketplace to achieve the actual results that you're looking for. So you can begin any business by answering these 5 questions. That's basically what I'm telling you. You've got to answer the why, what, when, who, and how. Why, what, when, who, how. When you answer those 5 questions, you should be able to start nearly every business at least every business I can think of, especially that first one. When you start with why you're doing something, everything else flows and follows from that. And when you know who you're serving, you can begin to get your marketing on straight, because it begins to tell you whom you're looking for as customers and partners. And when begins to show you when you're going to get stuff done, who is the enrolling other people in the vision to actually execute it, and then how is to making sure that it actually gets done so that ultimately you do achieve the result and get the lifestyle that you're looking for. Okay, this is what I want to leave you with today. Get started and then stay started. Wisdom comes from experience, and experience often comes from bad judgment. It's okay to start out with bad judgment, because bad judgment is better than no judgment and definitely better than no action. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.